Kimball Sargent here, your self-care coach. So happy to see you back. Today is class 10. And last week I told you I was going to be talking with you about nutrition and the role that nutrition plays in your living well in a sick world. And we really are what we eat. And last week I talked to you about protein and its importance. But today I'm going to talk about fat. There's something about that word that just creates a lot of anxiety in a lot of people. And this idea started back in I think it was probably the 70s, that fat made you fat. So you didn't want to eat fat. And what happened was we all started eating sugar. And sugar really does make you fat. And there's a whole lot of political stuff about that I could tell you about, and some research that was put away. But now we've come around and we found out the great news is that eating fat does not make you fat. In fact, eating fat can make you feel full, a term that a lot of doctors, nutritionists say satiated, which basically just means full. So there's a professor at Indiana who is in pediatric medicine, Aaron Carroll, and he wrote a book that I really like called The Bad Food Bible, How and Why to Eat Sinfully. And I like the idea of eating sinfully. Doesn't that sound fun? And what he talks about is that you can eat the rich foods that have rich fats, and they do a lot of wonderful things for you. And we're talking about buttery avocados, rich salmon, savory nuts. All of these things in your diet will actually be beneficial. And I'm going to tell you today how they can actually help you reduce your weight. There's been all kinds of research, and I remember myself when I went to my doctor probably 20 years ago, and I was worried I'd put on 5 pounds at that time, and I was like, I feel like I'm getting fat. And he said, well, I want you to eat 20 or less grams of fat a day. You've got to keep your fat very, very low. He said, in fact, if you could cut it completely out. And that was really the belief then. But what we now know is that that's just not how it is. There was a large analysis published in the Lancet journal. There were 135,000 people that were on a low-fat, low-carb diet in 18 different countries. And I will tell you, that's a really good sample. So what did they find out about those low-fat diets? Well, they were more likely to be linked with death from all causes, and found a higher likelihood of heart attacks and heart disease with people on these low carb on these than people who were on low carb diets. So here's the thing: lowering the fat is not really going to give you what you want. In fact, if you take out all the fat, you're probably going to be hungry all the time. Now, there was an 8-year trial that involved 50,000 women, and they put half of them on a low-fat diet and half not. Well, what they found is the ones that were on the low-fat diet, because we're always being told that eating fat in your diet is going to raise your risk of breast cancer and colorectal cancer and heart disease. Guess what? It didn't. So the body really requires fat to run properly, just like your car needs gas. And so what does fat do in your body? Because you're probably thinking, well, the fat is what I get, in my lower side or on my abdomen. Well, fat is used to the body to help your blood clot with muscle movement. It's required for building the cell membranes. That's the shell, like the exterior of your cells. And it protects the nerves. And we all know that nerve conduction is essential. It also is helpful. You have to have fat in order to absorb your vitamins and minerals from the food you eat. Now, most of us are not in the position where we can't do those things. But you see, fat really has a need. I think a lot of times we think of fat being something that's not necessary and we want to stay away from. So, and there's a difference. Now, you might say, oh, this is great. I can have lots of fat. Can I go and get a Cinnabon? Well, I would say probably not. You see, the Cinnabon has a lot of calories, has fat, but it has a lot of sugar, and that's not good for you. Calories are different. If the Cinnabon has how many of the grams of fat, and you have an avocado with the same number of grams in fat, they're not equal, because the way your body processes them affects your hormones, your metabolism, and even your appetite. So when you eat that Cinnabon, it's got lots of sugar, and it raises your insulin, and it changes everything in your body, raises your blood sugar. When you eat that avocado, it has the ability to help keep your blood sugar level. And we know that level blood sugars are associated with your body running more productively and also weight loss. So there's a gentleman named Kevin Hall, and he works at the National Institute of Health. And he did some interesting studies. And what he found that every ounce of food, he measured everything because he is in mathematical systems and biology. So he measured every ounce of food, every movement, every breath, every calorie that these people took in. They took in identical amounts. One group was on a high-fat diet, and one was on low-fat. Well, the people that were on the high-fat diet burned over 100 times more calories a day than the people that were on a high-carb diet. So what Hall shows also is that eating fats even improves your taste preferences. So I'm not really sure what that is, except that I know that when you eat a lot of carbs, you tend to crave more carbs, and it becomes self-perpetuating. And the high fat improved metabolism. So less than 10% of people who lose weight keep it off. Now, I told you last week I'm one of those. I'm an outlier, because last year in July I said this weight that happened after I had a surgery years ago had to go. I lost some, but not what I wanted to. And so I reduced by 30 pounds, and I did it in less than 3 months. And come July 1, and I haven't gained it back now, I'm staying exactly where I was, I kept it off. One of the ways that I do that is that I eat a low carb, high fat, good portions of protein in my diet. It's really high protein and high fat. And I have more energy than I've ever had, and I love being able to keep the weight off. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, what that really means. Dr. Ludwig, who's from Harvard, he and his colleagues compared the high fat, low carb diets with high carb and low fat diets. And here's what they found. The high fat group ended up burning 300 more calories a day than the low fat group. All in favor of burning more calories a day say aye. And that, there was nothing about exercise there. Now, you need to exercise. I remember I'm always telling you that movement is huge. But the high fat group also had improvements in their cholesterol, in lowering their triglycerides, in lowering their LDL, and lower levels of clotting factor. And you remember, as I recall, there's a problem for a lot of people who get this virus with that. And we want to be doing everything we can that supports our bodies in a healthy way, because it's going to be a long time before there is a treatment and there is a cure or there is an immunization. And we want to live healthy. So there were even bigger improvements for people on the high-fat, low-carb diet in insulin resistance and prediabetes. Again, diabetes is one of the risk factors for COVID. So, what is the take-home on this? What the take-home is that if you're not eating enough fats, you want to change that. Now, all fats aren't created equally. You do not want to eat trans fats. And I will tell you, it's very important to be a label angel. I used to say Nazi, but I don't even want people to think in those kind of terms. I want you to think that you're a label angel, and that you're looking at that label because you're looking at all the things that are going to support your body and help it live healthily. And the trans fats, sometimes they'll say that there's no trans fats, but what it is there's none in the amount of the serving that they're talking about. What you want to do is you want to eat rich, whole foods. And I'm going to tell you the very 6 best fats that you can eat. And the first is the avocado. And I love avocados. You can throw an avocado in a smoothie. You'll never know it's there, except that it'll have about the same consistency as a milkshake from McDonald's. So if you like that, you can add it there. I love putting avocado slices on all kinds of meat. I love it in salads. Avocado is really, really good. It promotes healthy blood flow. And you know what? Healthy blood flow to the brain is very important for our functional health. So it's also very good for potassium, and it helps control blood pressure. It's great for magnesium, and it lowers the risk of heart disease. Now, salmon is wonderful. One of my favorites. My husband's not a fan. But salmon is full of the omega-3 fatty acids. And I think it's really better when it's lightly grilled so that you control the integrity of the omega-3s. It's really good. I highly recommend that when you buy salmon that you get Pacific salmon that is wild caught. Farm raised salmon does not have the omegas in it that you need. Now, nuts. And keeping nuts around to snack on is great. They are unsaturated fats. They're full of vitamin E. They're great for brain functioning. Other great choices are the almonds, pecans, walnuts, and they protect against cognitive decline as well. Now, whole eggs, and I'm going to change besides whole, I'm going to tell you free range eggs because there really is a difference in eggs. If it's a happy chicken, they lay an egg that is full of the omegas. They boost your memory. They're full of protein. I talked about the incredible egg last week, so you want to add that in. Now, olive oil, and I actually am going to show you my favorite one. This is polyphenol rich olive oil. Dr. Gundry has this on his site. Olive oil is great for you. And you can add it to any meal. It's great to drizzle it on things. But if you're going to saute with it, you've got to saute at a very low setting because once it reaches a certain temperature, it can create carcinogens. But it's wonderful. You can drizzle it on your vegetables. You can. I don't want you to do a lot of bread but if there are some really great low carb options. There's a bee-free bread that I like. I might show you that one next week. That is actually low carb. It's got seeds and a lot of good things, and I like to drizzle a little bit of that on a piece when I have it in the morning. Coconut oil is fabulous, and that's number 6. I'm also going to share my favorite coconut oil with you. It's the Nutiva coconut oil. It is virgin, it is organic, it is free trade, and it's non-GMO. Coconut oil is great to be used on the outside of the body and used on the inside of the body. It's great to saute in because it can take the higher heat. And coconut oil is wonderful for your brain. It's full of medium chain triglycerides, and we know from research that those have even helped people who had Alzheimer's. So you want to be using coconut oil. You can use it on your outside as well as the inside. It's antifungal, it's antiviral, it's antimicrobial. If you decide to do a wellness assessment with me, we will talk about coconut oil and all its benefits. And it is great for helping that brain regenerate. And I mentioned this to you all last week. This is the Kenzen Balance, and this one I do sell. It's from Nick and my partner, and it is a shake mix, and it is full of the medium chain triglycerides. So it's how I start my day off every day, and I do one shake in the afternoon. I may have mentioned this to you before, but my dad will turn 85 in about a month and a half. And he's been using this ever since we started with Vital Balance, our company, probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. But he was a research scientist, and he used to, when he first was using it, he would keep a record. He'd go a week on it, and he would write records about how he thought his memory was doing, and then he'd go a week off, and he'd write. And he'd call me, and he said, Kimball, please put that on auto ship. He's been using it once a day. This past year, he started using it at lunch again. I told you last week how great it was for the protein. Well, it's also great in helping you get those medium chain triglycerides. So, if you're thinking, well, it's May and things are opening back up and I might be going to the beach, and maybe you have put on a little bit of, I think they used to call it the freshman 15, but maybe you put on the COVID-19 and you want to change that, I love to help you with that because I would love to help you create a healthy eating plan. I released 30 pounds. I didn't lose it because I don't want to gain it back. And it's not about being on a diet that's going quicker to die, and none of us are really rallying to get there. What it's about is creating a healthy lifestyle plan. And I love doing that. If you'd like some help with that, then I would suggest that you go to my Facebook page, Wellness Solutions Today, like my page while you're at it, and send me a message. I will set up a free wellness assessment for you. You can also visit my web page, which is wellnesssolutionstoday.com. And if you'd like a written assessment, I have one of those you can get. You just go to www.wellnesssolutionsnow.com. I've enjoyed talking with you today. Remember, the takeaway is fats don't make you fat. In fact, fats might make you smarter. You have a great day and be well.